What do you do when the world you know has completely changed? Maybe you've worked for years building a career, climbing your way up, only to now feel like the ground beneath you is shifting. The roles are disappearing, the pace is relentless, and the burnout, yeah, it's real. In this episode, I'm mind blending with Cherry Jordan, a transformational coach who gets it because she's lived it. After years of working in the fast paced world of TV production, she hit her own breaking point and made a bold transition. So now she helps others do the same, whether it's moving up, moving on, or completely reinventing. Welcome to the show, Mind Blend. I'm your host, Karen Chong, and I'll be diving into the minds of incredible people, each an expert in their very own way. Together, we'll uncover insights and share ideas so you can be inspired and empowered to navigate your own unique journey in life. Ready to get curious and discover what's possible? Let's blend. So, joining me today from Brighton here in the UK is Cherry Jordan. So, Cherry is a former TV production manager, but she has made a transformational switch. And now she's a coach and the founder of the Brain Spa, helping individuals navigate career change with more confidence and less stress. Hi, Cherry.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you and welcome to Mind Blend.
Thank you. And thank you for that introduction.
So I was just talking to some friends and we talked about many things. It's one of those nights where you just spend hours in their house. And then we were talking about, what's your favorite TV show growing up?
Mm-hmm.
This morning, before my conversation today with you, I was like, I don't know how much longer we can ask that question. Because growing up with certain TV shows is very natural to all of us, but maybe not so much anymore. So I'd like to dive into this topic with Cherry, since you have such a long history in the field.
Sure. Sounds good.
Tell us a little bit more about your journey, like what you did before, what happened, what inspired you to launch the Brain Spa, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, I always wanted to work in TV when I was a kid. I don't know, you probably don't know this program, but the Brits listening to this will probably, well, anyone who was born in the 80s, which I was, will remember the program Wogan, which was basically a guy called Terry Wogan who held this sort of chat show every evening. And from a really young age, from like 7 years old or something, I was like, I want to work with the BBC, because it used to say at the beginning, live from Wood Lane and the Terry Wogan show. So I wanted to work at the BBC, and I just always felt drawn to it. And in a way, looking back, I think I kind of manifested it, because it was always something I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to work for the BBC. And I did work for the BBC live on Wood Lane with Terry Wogan.
Good for you.
And so I got there, and after a bit of a false start, because I didn't go to university, I didn't do A levels, which is the sort of normal academic route over here. I just kind of went for it. I eventually went back to college, sort of mid-20s, and did media production, and that was just a couple of years HND, but that actually did open the sort of doors for me to get into television. So I started there, and it was really great to sort of be in that place. And I ended up being at the BBC for about 8 years. But it's a brilliant company. I'd had a great time there, but it was quite hard to progress, in all honesty. So I decided to move on, and hard to progress for me. Maybe others don't find it so, but I did. So I left and I started working on current affairs, so things like Panorama and Channel 4 dispatches and things like that. So quite hard-hitting current affairs, quite stressful a lot of times. I think I nearly sort of hit burnout during that time, but because you just keep on going at such fast turnarounds, you just carry on. And it was hard. People in the TV industry work incredibly hard. Not to say other industries don't, but it can be lots of very litigious, working in this kind of current affairs thing. So it can be very difficult dealing with a lot of different personalities, many different subjects, big number of staff. So, at that point, so sort of in my early 30s, I was building up to this quite sort of stressful career.
Mm-hmm.
I then left there actually, and I did my sort of first pivot, I guess. And I went from broadcast television and I went into digital. So I worked for Vice, managing the news team at Vice.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of same but different in a way. But it was really great to sort of see content production from a different angle, from just this traditional kind of, well, people sit down, it's at the beginning, and watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
This was now more on demand, and people choosing to sort of, get on YouTube and watch it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, quite stressful. I know one day it would be like, okay, yes, so we need to send someone to Afghanistan tomorrow. And you'd be like,
Uh-huh.
okay, and you just do it, So it
Yeah.
actually taught me a lot about how responsive we can be, and how if you've got to get something done, you can just do it. You find out how to, if you don't know, or if you do know, you do it again. And that was really, I learned a lot from that experience. But my last role in digital content was at The Economist. So I worked there for 8 years as well, lucky number 8. And I was head of production there for the film department, which I was sort of instrumental in setting up with my colleagues there at the time. And once we did set that up, we went from having about, I don't know, about 4 members of actual staff on the team, all the way up to, I think we ended up having about 25 staff, and then multiple freelancers all around that. So again, it's this kind of spinning plates scenario. Lots going on, a lot of people management. But I too got burnt out from the amount of work. I mean, the industry was really weird at that time, because even though it was kind of lockdown, not that long out of lockdown, there was actually a lot of work at that time in television, which is where I was mostly. But then it started, there was so much work. We had so many different production managers, all these different freelancers coming in and out. So it's very hard to kind of give everyone the attention they need.
Yeah.
So I got burnt out myself. And actually, I got diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. And I realized, I think I'd actually been depressed for quite a long time. And I had to be signed off work for a couple of months. And I actually, in that time, was really lucky. And I managed to have a lot of therapy. I mean, at one point I was doing 12 hours of therapy a week, like group therapy.
Wow.
Which is a lot, and which I don't have to kind of explain. It obviously is a lot, but it was life-changing. And I feel incredibly lucky that I had the opportunity to do that, which I wouldn't have been able to do as a freelancer, fortunately. And I learned a lot from that. And that's kind of what led me to start the Brain Spa, because I just really wanted to be able to help people not feel like they had to work so hard they went to burnout in order to just get a job done, to be rehired, to, make life really hard, and actually to help people find ease in what they do, calm. There are always stressful parts of our jobs. Any job, there's stressful parts, there's bits we don't want to do, but there's also we have a choice as to how we approach those parts. And I learned a lot for myself. I went from reacting to responding. I went from hypervigilance to kind of talking myself down and thinking, it's okay. So I just really wanted to kind of help people learn techniques through coaching, to actually be able to deal with those high pressure moments, and actually find work that they really enjoy. So that then has the impact on us loving our lives as well. So it's all linked. So now I coach people around many different things. Career transition is one of them, especially with people who are in the creative industries actually, and coming out of that, because of the lack of work currently in the industry, but also around things like imposter syndrome, confidence, self-esteem, all these things, which if we can just learn to deal with those sort of demons in our heads, then it does make life a lot easier, really.
Yeah. So how would you say the creative industry, media industry, TV industry, the landscape right now, how would you describe that?
Complex.
Complex?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of economic pressures and things on the industry at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
funding challenges. I mean, there's been reduced funding for domestic projects, and there's been a lot of sort of high focus on high-end dramas.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's to do with the multiple platforms, all over the world now. We don't just have the BBC anymore over here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got hundreds of channels to choose from.
Yeah.
So the competition is very high. And a lot of the things that get a lot of viewers, including me, actually, is, things like box sets, dramas,
Mm-hmm.
box sets, factual television. eh, It's just not quite at the same, in quite the same demand,
Mm-hmm.
which is such a shame because it's one of the strongest products I think we put out from the UK is our factual
Mm-hmm.
television.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many people that are suffering out there. I mean, the unemployment levels are really high.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's about over half the UK's film and TV workforce remain out of work at the moment. So
Mm-hmm.
that's serious. If it was some other trade, I don't know, maybe there would be more of an outcry, but it seems to be something that's kind of going unsaid. And I think that's unfortunate because there's so many talented people with so many skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure, I don't know if we'll ever return to what it was. I mean, let's hope so. But if it does, all those people will have gone because they would have changed their career.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't blame them for doing so at
Mm-hmm.
the moment. A lot of them are freelancers who have, many who have been blessed with years and years of continuous work. And they would be the first ones to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But now all of that has been put to one side and they're left to just have to, do jobs that they don't necessarily want to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with working in a pub or, doing some office work. That's fine, but that's not what they trained and worked all those years for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a really difficult time for them at the moment.
Yeah, it's not just TV media production. I have a lot of people in the creative industry as
Mm.
well. A
Yeah.
lot of them were laid off
Yeah.
and they have been struggling to find new opportunities. It's not, I can't put my finger on if it's the demand or what, because I do see a lot of jobs out there. It's
Mm.
just maybe, like you said, competition. There's a
Mm.
little, if half of the UK
Mm.
media film producers are out of a job, then you can imagine the
Mm.
competition. And I think a lot of the funding is a thing, the pressure for revenue is something, and then the perception that, oh, we can do this with AI. I hear AI every day to a
Mm.
point where do not mention this word anymore unless you know what it's actually doing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely putting a lot of pressure on
Mm.
everyone.
Yes, I agree with that. And I
Mhm.
think the other challenges as well is that there's the money in the industry is really low at the moment, but they still have to invest in future, upskilling people for the future
Yeah.
in things like AI, making sure they use them correctly and, other technologies and stuff, which is going to make sure we move with the times. But because there's no
Hmm.
budget to do that,
Hmm.
that makes it really hard to keep these, all these freelancers, all these other permanent staff up to date with their training.
Hmm.
And that will have a knock-on effect eventually, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't just focus on now because you need time to train
Yeah.
people. You need time to train AI too.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. And we need the right people training it with the right information. So this is where, those specialisms come in. I mean, I
Mhm.
think AI, you're right, it's a scary subject for a lot of people.
Yes, because not
Especially,
everyone know the
yeah,
full capability, what it can and cannot do, what it's
yeah,
meant to do, what it's not meant to be.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So I think, it's coming. There's not much we can do about that. So it is
Yeah.
enhancing it and using it in a way that we can. But that does take training, and people who have been unemployed for a year, and I speak to a lot of people who unfortunately are in that situation, they can't afford to pay for that kind of training.
Hmm.
So where's the upskilling,
Hmm.
which worries me.
Yeah. Of the people that you talk to, either former colleagues or people in your network or maybe your clients, where is the problem according to them? Is it the there's just not enough demand or
Yeah. I think there's high demand for jobs,
Mhm.
but low demand for,
hiring?
hiring. So
Hmm.
yeah, that does appear to be the biggest thing. I mean, I do work with some people who are currently in jobs, but
Mm-hmm.
so they're having to take on so much because there's such a small team or their budgets are so tight
Mm-hmm.
that it's become incredibly difficult
Mm-hmm.
for them to sort of function in that space. So that again, there's something wrong there. It's I don't know whether it's the broadcasters, commissioners, whoever they are, but saying, oh yeah, yeah, we'll give you this budget, but you need to do all of this for this small budget.
Yeah.
And it's setting a really difficult task for those people. And
Mm-hmm.
the pressures that come with the having to say no, or having to report we can't do that, that's also takes a real, it has a real impact on people, and the stress levels of that alone will basically increase burnout, which then means other people can't work because they're burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of in a bit of a cycle.
Yeah. When you were burned out yourself, so if you were to tell this person what you know now and
Mm,
piece of advice for that person, yourself, 5, 6 years ago,
mm.
what would you say?
I think I'd probably say reflect on what you like and don't like in your job. Actually start to piece together what a perfect working day looks like for you. It doesn't matter if it's realistic or anything, but just getting to kind of know what drives you, I think, is really important. And to really be curious as well. Why do you feel like that? Why does that work? Why do I only want to work 4 days a week? Why do I only want to work 5 days a week, but until 2 p.m. every day? What is it? What is it that actually you want to do? A lot of the time with my clients who I'm working with on career transition, it would be looking at, their past interests from being a child and through their previous work life. What is it that they used to get really excited about? What hobbies did they do? Try and remember what made you you in the beginning. What made me as a 7-year-old child want to go and work for the BBC?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think by exploring these things, you can really start to work out who you are. It starts to show you what your values are. We do a lot of work around strengths and things like that as well. Because, again, a strength, I believe, is something that you're highly skilled in and you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So what are those things? It's not just about going, all right, well, I suppose I'm really good at bookkeeping, but is that going to make you want to carry on? Is that the
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah.
the some maybe some people
Mm-hmm.
numbers, but for me, I'm terrible with numbers. So
Mm-hmm.
probably. But thank God we have many things to do with that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel like it's having. I wish I'd known to kind of um have that self exploration
Mm-hmm.
and don't just think, right, I'll get another job and just
Mm-hmm.
start throwing all these job applications out there, because it just doesn't really work.
Mm-hmm.
And also with things like LinkedIn, when AI is a massive tool that is used in applying for jobs on either side of that fence,
Yeah.
then it's a bit of a thankless task. I mean, I'm not sure of the statistics about actually getting an interview from a LinkedIn ad, but I
Mm-hmm.
imagine they're pretty staggering in the amount of times that people will actually get an interview, because so many people are going for the same jobs.
Yeah.
So I think it's about being curious, thinking about what you really want to do, what would light you up, and how could you get there? What's one small step you could take
Mm-hmm.
today that might get you a bit closer? That
Mm-hmm.
might be thinking, oh, so I really love to work with animals, and I'm just going to check out this website that I could go and volunteer working with animals. It's just seeing where these steps are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think I just asked myself to be a bit more reflective, curious, and considerate of my own needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think in that process, you kind of open up your eyes to opportunities that you didn't think would be opportunities.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's interesting. A few people I work with who have worked in the TV industry for a long time, but have really great very drawn towards food and making food and wanting
Mm-hmm.
to, this be part of their lives. But it seems quite sort of not alien, but coming from a different, from quite a different angle, that actually how can they combine their love of food with what they can already do,
Mm-hmm.
how could they write about food? How could they make content about food? Bringing in the skills they've already got and the strengths they have. and joining them up with an interest that they're really passionate about.
Mm-hmm. And I think we have seen that starting to come true. I think
Yeah.
even it's been a while, like for the last 10 years. Food, the amount of food related shows, movies, documentaries.
But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, food is definitely, it comes up quite often actually, the food angle.
Mm.
And
Look at all the cooking shows,
well,
baking
yeah,
shows.
exactly. And I guess most people love food. I mean, I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
watch a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I think it's about, pivoting as well. And not one thing that the industry has shown us over the last few years, is you don't necessarily have to be attached to a broadcaster. You can go and do
Mm-hmm.
your own thing. You can start your own YouTube channel or your
Yes.
Instagram channel, come up with your own content. And that might sound quite scary to some people, but many people have started from that position of fear as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they just do it anyway. And like Patreon as well is a really great platform for that, and you can earn money from putting things up on there too. So I just think there's so many different ways now to create your own content without having to go under the umbrella company.
Yes. Do you see them as threats? Like, do you see, yes, they're making it a little bit easier for people to not have to be attached to a broadcaster, but it also is sort of creating competition to major broadcaster like BBC. Do you see them in the same market?
I think they're very different markets. I think they appeal to different age groups, but I have a tendency to lean towards a more kind of abundance mindset.
Mm.
And in my mind, there's enough for everybody of everything. And I feel that there are learnings to be taken from each and to be used by each as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so no, I don't see them as competition. I think that digital content has shaken up how, mainstream TV has, how it has to change, basically. It's been a
Mm-hmm.
disruptor of that. But I think that's a good thing. But I mean, I remember years ago when I was working at the BBC, and someone said to me, they said, "Oh, well, you do know, like in the future, people won't just watch scheduled television anymore. They'll be able to choose what they want to watch." And I was like, "What? No."
Yeah.
I was, what are you talking about? Because I couldn't get my head around it.
Mm.
Now here we are. I mean, that is how I consume TV. However, some of that TV is still the BBC. Some of it's still Channel 4. It's not all Netflix, Disney, Amazon, whatever. So it's still room for those broadcasters, but they have been forced to change how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
With different types of content comes different kind of rules.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't create a YouTube documentary in the same way you do a television documentary,
Yeah.
for example. So but it's all these different skills that everybody can learn from as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being open to new opportunities is definitely important in any career change or in life in general, but especially when it comes to career change. Of the clients who came to you, are they usually, is there a bigger group of people who are navigating changes to a completely different industry or more progressing in their current path?
I think of recently it's been more people looking to change. I think that doesn't mean to say they wouldn't go back to TV if there was work, but they're realizing that sadly there's no guarantee there anymore. They don't have these 6 months contracts rolling on for years and years. It's with different companies, but they're realizing they have to have a different string to their bow.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is the general theme I find. The other theme I see a lot is that people want variety. I
In
can
their work?
love that in their work, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So more leaning towards kind of portfolio careers. So for me, for example, I'm a coach. I'm also a facilitator. I produce a
Mm-hmm.
podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I am a co-founder of a festival. There's lots of different things I can do, and I love that variety. And that's something that I never had when I was in permanent employment.
Yeah.
It was very much 9 to 5. Sometimes later, 9 to 5 if you like. Monday to Friday, and that was it. And now I feel like I have so much space. I'm still very busy, but I have space to do things I really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having that kind of more, portfolio career, fractional is a word that's talked about a lot at the moment, fractional careers.
Yes.
I'm also a fractional COO, so I kind of had that as another side. So just be able to dip your your hands in all these different things. That's kind of
Yeah, I have heard the word fractional being used when it comes to titles, but
Mhm.
for anyone who's not really familiar with fractional
Mm.
roles, can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, so it's more about so it's kind of like freelance work,
Mm,
but you're more brought into a company. So as a fractional chief operating officer, I am more, I will have an email address to that company. I'll feel connected to that company that I'm working for. I won't just be, brought in to do, I don't know, one particular project and then I'm off.
mm,
Be very much supporting a business and having sort of a vested interest in that. So the other thing is about it's not necessarily 9 to 5 either. It's more about a client is paying for impact rather than, impact and value
yes.
rather than hours in the week.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, I really want to see an increase in my sales, or I want to have a better social media platform or whatever, then they will judge on that. They're paying for that rather than like, oh, well, it's 10 to 5 and you look like you're about to leave and I don't want you to leave it. It's not,
Oh,
it's just a
yes.
different kind of way of working. But you might work fractionally by, say, doing a couple of days a week for one person and then doing a few hours a week for another, half day here for someone else. So you're having to switch up quite a lot in your
Mm-hmm.
thinking, but it means you get to work with lots of really interesting different companies and people as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that expands your skill set.
As absolutely, and it's beneficial to everybody because I might learn something from one company I'm working with, in terms of technology or something like that, and think, oh, that would work really well for them. And so it's kind of sharing all of this, uh, these different ways of working, basically.
Mm-hmm. And for any creatives in transition, whether or not they are trying to find new paths or they're still struggling to find their permanent jobs, what
Mhm.
would be some advice for them as first steps?
First steps. Well, as I say, I think it would probably take small steps. Um, I think when people think, right, I've got to change career and I'm going to go and do this, but then they don't do it because it seems so massive. Just
Mm-hmm.
take these little steps. Make that phone call. Have conversations with people. I mean, the biggest thing I promote in my program for career transition is getting people out there and talking to people who are doing what they want to do. So it's surrounding yourself by the right people.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to be an entrepreneur and start your own business, go and surround yourself with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Lots of other people doing that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go and, I don't know, be a circus artist,
Mm-hmm.
go and ask a circus artist if you know and what it's like to be them,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mean to sound facetious, but it's actually just putting yourself out there. And
Mm-hmm.
the big N word comes in a lot, the networking word, which is
Yes.
people hate networking. And
Mm-hmm.
it's actually, I don't know if people hate networking. I think they hate the word. I think
Mm-hmm.
the fear of God into people, but that's not what networking should be.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a really great way just to make connections.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think when I go to a networking event, it's not about, right, who's going to give me a job here. It's about who can I meet? Who can I make a friend? Who can
Mm-hmm.
I just have a collaboration with in some way, whether that's just a thought process or an actual thing. So I think getting out there and starting to network in the right circles is really important as well. Um, Finding a mentor. I know
Mm-hmm.
your last,
Yeah. Yeah.
she mentioned the same thing, and I totally agree with her that you know, having someone who's doing what you want to do, has already achieved in it,
Mm-hmm.
is so beneficial. And so many people want to be mentors and they want to help people. It might take a while to find that person. You might find you're sending, I don't know, 10 LinkedIn messages and you only get one answer back, but you will get an answer from someone. You just got to keep on persevering and asking for
Mm-hmm.
confidence. Um, and I think the other thing is just feel the fear and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a book called that, which I always recommend to my clients. And it's an old book. I think it's probably nearly as old as me. And so it's written in the 80s, and it might seem a little bit old fashioned nowadays, but I think the message in it is still really clear that what's the worst that could happen? You just got to put yourself out there and try.
Mm-hmm.
Worst that could happen is that you stay doing what you're doing. But if that's the worst option, is that really the one you want to be doing?
Yeah. Yes.
So that's kind of my view on it.
Yeah. It comes back to what you said earlier, reflecting.
Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely. We don't reflect.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a culture of reflecting I believe in micro cultures like coaching, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
psychologists. We're all taught to reflect. But until I trained as a coach, I didn't know what they meant by. I was like, what do you mean? I've got to reflect on this. And I
Mm-hmm.
really think that is such an important part of it as well. Give yourself a chance to think, feel into your body and think, did I actually enjoy that? Am I pleased? Like, I worked really hard on that program. Maybe I want a BAFTA, but did that do it for me? Is that really making me feel good?
Mm-hmm.
And until we start asking ourselves those questions, it is very hard to find that new career that you really want to go for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really agree with what you said about surrounding yourself with the right people, connecting with people. Because I went to a creative networking. It's not really a networking event, but it was a creative event. So
Mm,
all the guests are people in the creative industry in
mm,
different form.
mm,
And I felt so inspired leaving the room because I felt like for once, this is the kind of people I want to surround
mm.
myself with.
Yeah.
And then I kept in touch with a few. And then, like, I just opened myself up and I saw opportunities and I did land a gig at one of these connections companies.
Mm.
So it's really important. And I think the word networking reminds us of like job fairs back in
Yes.
university.
Yes.
And you were really nervous. You do have your CVs with you. Maybe
Mm,
you are actually looking for jobs and you feel like you only have one chance to make the impression. And I
mm.
think that's how networking events feel like, or
I,
it felt like in the past. I think it has changed nowadays. So,
I think you're right, though. I think there's
mm,
a real stigma attached to it. And I think people imagine men in suits,
yeah.
or networking, briefcases, power suits, all this kind of thing. And it's not. I
Mm,
mean, we're networking right now. We're
mm,
connecting, we're getting to know each other, and anything. I don't want to say because it sounds cold, like any conversation's networking, and it is, but it's not as cold as it sounds.
mm-hmm,
I think the word networking just needs to be changed to connecting.
mm-hmm, yeah.
That just makes it sound a lot nicer and yeah, a little bit less clinical.
Mm-hmm, yeah. It's having conversations that make the other person have you in their mind
Yeah.
when they see something. It doesn't even have to be a job opportunity. It can be their situation. Oh, I remember I had a conversation with Karen the other day
Hmm.
about such and such. And who knows, like you may send me a message saying that, oh, I found this really nice cafe that you would like to go to, things
Mm.
like that.
I think that's it. It's an exchange of information. It's not what you can get from somebody. In fact, it's more what you can give to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I try to go in with it, to any networking situation. Not what I can get, what I can give.
Yeah. In an industry like right now, I thought 2025, 5 years after COVID,
Mm.
things would be a little bit more certain, but I think it's more uncertain than ever.
I think things are changing. I think there is a big shift happening
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
way we work,
Mm-hmm.
in, you know, contract work, shorter weeks,
Yeah.
know a lot more companies trying out 4-day weeks
Mm-hmm.
nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is great. And I think that could really affect productivity as well. Um, I think there's also, these myths around
Mm-hmm.
changing careers that have
Yeah.
really actually changed too. And I think, well, I know for me, I can only speak for myself, but I come from a generation where my parents were very much as supportive as they are. It's like, well, you do a job and you stick to it. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's not true. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not too late to change.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's in their 50s might think, oh, I really want to do something different, but I may as well just stick with this now. It's like, why? Give it
Mm-hmm.
a go. What's the worst that's going to happen, as we say? And I'd much rather try than not.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to start from scratch. You can
Yeah.
use the skills you've got. The majority of the skills that anybody has, unless they're incredibly specialist, are
Mm-hmm.
transferable. It's
Yes.
been given those opportunities, but this is where you get out and you meet people and you connect with them and they
Mm-hmm.
like you and they want to give you an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And also it doesn't mean anymore, that you have to take a pay cut if you're going to change careers.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got the right skills for the right person, they will pay you what you're worth.
Yeah.
So, I think that there's a lot of fear around that sort of money making side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is a risky thing to do. It does take effort. It's hard to walk into a new job, but if you're willing to put the time in and the effort, it is completely possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think many people when they start talking about, taking that jump and having that change,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know what's possible, and that's understandable. A lot of these people have been in the same industry, like in
Mm-hmm.
this case, in TV or creative industries for a long time. You don't know what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understandable that it's like, oh, it's scary, and oh, I'll just stay doing what I'm doing. But get curious, go
Mm-hmm.
out, find things out, go along to things, even if you know it might not be for you. Just
Yeah.
go and see with your own eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think companies also need to be more curious.
Mm,
So just based on anecdotal information, a lot of companies, when they're hiring, they're looking for someone who is doing currently exactly what the role needs to do.
yes, yeah,
And very rarely does that happen.
mm-hmm,
And there are definitely transferable skills. Coming from a project manager background
mm-hmm,
is transferable skills more than anything.
mm.
I
Uh,
have not ever go from one company to another and they're doing exactly the same.
no, you're
Yeah.
right. That's such a good point to make, because and it's the same. You work in one production company who's delivering content for the BBC or whoever. You can go and work in another one. They'll deliver similar content, but they will do it in quite a different way
Mm-hmm.
from sort of the production side. So yeah, you're completely right. Every single company has its own systems, and
Mm-hmm.
I think this is where things like AI can be really helpful for those
Mm-hmm.
scenarios, and just sort of helping you work out what your priorities should be, and how to transfer your skills that you have into other roles and stuff as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. It's businesses need to be more open in the conversations, and like, do you know what? There's a big shortage of jobs in the TV industry right now, but that means there's loads of TV industry people looking for jobs. They could be a really great resource. They could be brilliant to get on board, and actually just be more open to that. And not just in the TV industry, many others. But you're right. I think people write these job descriptions, which sound very, very technical and complicated and must have insider knowledge and all this. But most people who are out there in the job world are capable of learning all these things. It's a
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah. Hard skills can learn.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter if I don't know SAP, I can learn SAP.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Just show me how to learn, or
Mm-hmm.
tell me where, and I'll get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Because being more curious, reflecting,
Mm.
looking out for opportunities, and just, you know, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't do A levels or a degree. I eventually
Mm-hmm.
did a HND in media
Mm-hmm.
production. But the way I worked up is that I saw opportunities and I took them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was scary. There was when I went from being a financial assistant for children in need, and then I moved up to be the executive assistant for the chief executive. And she, at the time, I knew she was going to be looking for somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
she was quite new to the role. And I just heard in the office she was going to be looking, and then I just went up to her in the office in my temp uniform of jeans and trainers, and I just said, can I do it? Can I have a go?" And we had a chat, and she said, "Yeah, you can." And that was the biggest thing. It wasn't the HND that got me into it. It was having the guts to go and ask her if I could take that step up. And that's how I've always, worked in my careers. Um,
Yeah. It
flawless.
has only worked for me in my most recent gig,
Mm.
but I'm going to start doing that more, just going up to
Why not?
potential employers and just
Mm.
ask for the job.
Yeah. Or just
Mm-hmm.
what you can bring.
Mm-hmm.
What's the worst that's going to happen?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Remember you.
yes, let's hope nothing worse is going to happen besides just you feeling stuck and
Mm.
just getting more and more depressed and losing
Mm.
hope. and the world is ending.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is hope as well. There are so many exciting, new things coming up in the workplace. Exciting technologies, different types of business. I mean, like AI or not, it is an incredible thing that has been created, and it will to create other jobs in different ways. So it's just finding out what these things are. What's the zeitgeist? What's fractional, for example? Being fractional, that's quite a new thing, but it's on the rise. So what's that about? How could I be a fractional worker? You may ask yourself. So it's there's plenty to be excited about, I think.
And is Brain Spa catering to mostly people locally that you can meet face to face?
No, I work online all the time. No, I mean, it's nice working face to face, but the majority of my clients actually are over Zoom. Yeah, I've worked with people in the States, in Canada, France. So yeah, to lots of different places. And in all those places, though, a lot of the time it's similar issues, and a lot of it comes down to fear. That is at the bottom of practically everything I coach, or any coach coaches probably. It's fear of failure. But once you kind of face that fear, look it in the eye and think, okay, this is what my fear looks like. This is the base of that. So for me, it would be being homeless, or, not having a roof over my head. But once I face that and think, well, I have got lots of friends and family. Are they going to see me like that? You can start to build back up again and think, okay, things are going to be all right. I'm just going to keep on trying. And that's what it's all about. You just got to keep on trying, basically. With that, though, it's about also building up your resilience, because trying can be very tiring. So we have to make sure that we all have the energy to do that, so we can recover quickly and keep on going. So that's a really big thing. And that's all comes down to sort of rest, play, flow, finding your creative flow. Another thing I'm very passionate about. So yeah, it's kind of having that little package. And that's generally what I help people with, and how to kind of have that 360 look on their lives. It's never just about the job. Ever. It's all connected.
Yeah. I'll definitely leave information to get connected to Cherry in the show notes. And anyone who feels like you've got something out of this podcast episode, feel free to connect with Cherry.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel like I had a brain spa session.
Well, my work here is done.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Mind Blend. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to follow and share it with anyone who needs to hear it. And let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on LinkedIn or leave me a comment. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and let's continue to blend our minds and discover what's possible.